Hey guys, Justin here. Apologies for the day late guide. I was having really hard times with ARCA last night, as you've probably seen from my video earlier today. But other than that, it's going to be a second lap qualifying. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. As always, if you found anything helpful with this video, I would really appreciate if you left a like on the video. It's the #1 way that anybody can support me. So thank you.
Green, green, green. Okay, here comes your first time lap. One more lap. 31.429.
Okay, let's take a look at that. So I have a slightly better lap that I did by 200ths, but this is what I did for the race. So I was like, okay, I'll just do the one I did for the race if it got close to pole. I think I lost pole by like a couple thousandths. But basically what I did was I do the second lap here, and for the run up, I drive along the seam as opposed to right by the wall, because there's some stuff that by the wall you could hit some weird bumps, you can get wall arrow, and you might just not be as fast as you can be if you just put your right sides on the seam here. Any marginal gain that you would get from running that much higher would be mitigated by just extra stuff you might have to do to keep it off the wall. So there we go, right sides on the seam. And then I was at first thinking that you cut the apron both laps because of how much distance there is, but at a full throttle track, you really need your momentum more than anything. So I realized a little bit later that it's about a couple hundredths faster just to not run the apron, run the white line, drive a little bit down into it. And then the key to qualifying here is to keep your entries low, but also never slide your tires. So I find that about one lane up and entering right on the white line is pretty viable. I think that it's kind of possible to go half a lane lower for that little bit of extra time, but the sweet spot that I found for me was entering about this one lane up and going immediately to the white line. So I hit that bump there, and it wasn't a great 1 and 2 for me. I'm a little bit higher than I want to be. You definitely can be a little bit closer to the white line. And then here's another key here, is that you don't want to slide all the way up to the wall. That's too much time loss. But you also don't want to keep it right on the white line because you'll lose a little bit of momentum. So some happy medium is just to let your car naturally slide up about a lane. That's going to be about the best of both worlds there. So you see, I maybe get a little bit higher than I want to. You see, I lose a little bit of time there. But if you go about a lane up, that's probably ideal. But you don't want to force the car rotation either. Okay, 3 and 4 here. Same idea. We're going to go about a lane up, and we're going to enter right on the white line, and we're just going to stay there. And then I think I didn't have the best corner here either. Oh, this looks all right. I think, yeah, just staying right on the white line. And I think here's the thing. I accidentally choked it off a little too much taking this line. Once again, just like 1 and 2, if you can take a little bit of wheel input out of the car and up its momentum, then it's definitely worth sliding up about a lane. So that was a minor mistake that lost me about 200ths here. I definitely should have let the car slide up a little bit more and taken the wheel out of it a little bit earlier. But now we're going to go into the apron. It's just marginally faster to cut the apron like this. Make sure not to hit the grass. If you graze it with your left side, then it's fine. But that's pretty much all there is to it. Full throttle the whole way, and just believe in the car. And I found that 14-1 is a little bit easier to do this on than 16. I'm usually known for doing 16 for everything, but for these full throttle qualifyings, I think 14 is a little bit easier to get it done on. So, all right, let's take a look at the race. All right, so we just did a race here, and I guess this is a spoiler, but we ended up leading one lap, and that was the last lap, and that's all we needed. So before we get to the exciting finish, and I'm going to show that off because it's one of my best, really good bounce back from yesterday, I want to show you guys a bit from the beginning. We got a 25 lap run, or no, was it 25? Yeah, about 24 and a half lap run, and it was pretty eye-opening on how to save tires here. So the things that are very important here are aero and your right front tire. So first off, you want to start in first gear. I tried first and second gear, and they're kind of close, but if you do first gear and shift immediately into second, you just get a little bit of a boost that's better. So this one I tried in first, but starting from second is really tough with a single monitor, but that's a different story. So basically what I did was I got in a little bubble here, which I really liked because I was able to back up my corner slightly. If you go into my cockpit here, you'll see that on lap 2, I'm lifting into the corner because I know that on exit, I'm going to be able to pull these guys. I'm going to be able to be in their draft and make up time. So I don't really want to be on their bumper right now because I don't really see a need to be racing that hard this early. So a good strategic thing to do when you have a little bit of room behind and a little room ahead, what you want to do is back up your corners just slightly to save that tire, with the intention of knowing that the draft will make up for that time. Because if I'm pulling up all the way to these guys' bumpers, it's going to make my corner entry a little bit messier. Maybe I'm going to have to change my line slightly. Whereas if I am keeping a bubble in front and behind, then I am able to run my own race and not worry about anything. And so you wonder, how do you keep the guy behind you from running you over? And the answer to that is manipulating the aero. So at a track like Vegas, this early on in the race, I really want to get 4th place here, tight in the center of the corner. Because he can be better than me on entry, that's awesome. But with this much of a gap, he's not really going to be able to do anything with a better entry if I'm able to get him tight off the corner. So you see, as he drives down, he actually drives into my aero, and it gets him tight here. You see how he pushes up right here the moment that he gets into my aero? So he drives down into my aero, it gets him tight, so he slides up the track too early, and now he has to let off the gas. I don't know what he's doing here to avoid hitting the wall, but regardless, now that I have a toe, his toe on me is going to do nothing to get to my bumper. And I do it again. He's going to try to run outside, but as he crosses into my aero, he's going to slide up the track before me. You see that? He's sliding up the track before me because he's driving it in deeper and getting into my draft, or into my dirty air. And now he's not able to get a run on me on the straightaway. And you just rinse and repeat this. And I was able to do this for multiple laps. And eventually, he can eventually overcome this by just full throttling the outside. And I'm happy to let that happen early in the race because you can save tire a lot better running on the bottom than on the top. So I just kind of run my own race here knowing that he's burning his tires, and I'm just driving it pretty hard, but if you're doing it on the bottom, it's not that bad. You see, I'm letting off a lot on entry so that I could just power it off on exit, because his middle is going to be really bad because he's in dirty air the whole time. So basically we just stay like this, and I stay on the bottom for multiple laps, and actually I end up clearing 4th place after 2 guys pass me, and then I'm actually able to get past 3rd place again because we're in lap 12. In the lap 10 to 15 range is when tire advantage is going to start popping up. So now I've established from better lines that I am faster, or I have better tires than this guy who's been pushing to get by me. So in a lap, I'm actually able to pass him. It's just straight running the bottom. It's able to clear him in 3 and 4. And it's really tight, but when our speeds, so the reason I'm able to slide up like this is because I know from being side by side with him that he has no run on me. I know that he entered a lane off from me. If he was a lane higher than he is right now and we were still at this position in this part of the corner, I know that I cannot slide up in front of him because he has too much momentum. But because he's only 1 lane off of me, he doesn't have any significant run over me. So the moment I clear him, I'm able to slide up. And it's not even considered dirty because, I mean, it doesn't even put him in a bad spot. At least that's my opinion. Maybe he thought I cut him off, but in my opinion, we have the same amount of speed, so I can clear myself whenever I'm actually clear. So, as you can see, as the laps go on, our tire advantage is great over him, so we actually pull away as a group for a pretty huge amount of time. And so once the caution comes down lap 25, this would have been a 3-horse race by the end of the race because of the tires that we saved over him. But now we're just going into the slog fest. And not much happens in the first little run, and then we get a caution that brings out a natural green-white checker. And so we start 3rd for the natural green-white checker, and I fall into line in 3rd pretty quickly. I got trolled by Jim. I love Jim, but I asked him what gear he starts in. He says 2nd. That was a lie. He wanted me to get a bad start, and so I tried 2nd. It didn't work. I had no hard feelings. That's freaking hilarious. So we fall into line in 3rd, and I don't even hate my spot here because I know these guys are going to go side by side, and I know I'm going to have a shot. So we're coming to the white flag here, and I'm just going to play the last lap so you guys can watch it. And there we go. We got the win somehow there. So that was a crazy last lap move. Netcode gods really gave to us there. My northwest ping. This is a netcode contact, maybe half the time. So very lucky with that. I did not want to wreck him, but so the reason that I was able to confidently go for that dive was because I saw Jim hit the apron here. When Jim hits the apron, this is a very this carries out for a lot of tracks. On one of these drafting situations, if the lead car is hitting the apron to get to the start-finish line, he is not going to be able to stay tight to the white line on corner entry, which means that he is going to leave a lane open on entry. So the moment I see him hit the apron, I prepare myself to dive into that first lane very precisely, because I knew that he was going to leave it open. Because all the way up here, he has to slide up here once he hits the apron, or else he's going to bog himself down. And so because he left that spot open, I full throttle dive into it, and I actually back off slightly because I wanted to not hit him for one. That was my number 1 priority, was finishing this race. But number 2, I wanted to make sure that I stuck to the white line and didn't slide up at all. So I actually got on the brakes slightly on this line. And his compromised line was actually enough for us to stay side by side on exit. And we all had equal amounts of speed somehow. And then I get a nice bump draft into turn 3, carry a lot of momentum. I'm thinking, okay, I'm keeping it as tight as possible. I'm gonna take the apron so that there's no chance of getting bumper hooked. And we make it to the line in first. So that was really amazing. Great race. Really, it's a good consolation. Well, I mean, it's a good race win, but after losing 450 I rating yesterday, you like to get one of these. So anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.